Alright, we're back for the next step of this pin making video. And it's been a minute, and I'm sorry for that. It took a long time for the manufacturer to send me a part that I needed. So this is a barrel trimmer and a reamer. And this hole here on their blank, in the pin tube, you see how big it is? And you see how small this is? Look, you see all the play? Yeah, that ain't gonna fly. So, in order to get this in there and to fit, so I could square this up where it's straight up and down and not like kick to the side or anything like that, because you need it straight, I had to order this piece. This is just like a spacer. And it took almost like 2 weeks for it to get here. I finally got it the other day in the mail. So you put this on here to kind of create some space, and now it fits in there snugly. Now we can truly square this up, and that's what we're going to do now. Okay, so I put the reamer and the barrel trimmer on the vise. I'm sorry, not the vise, the drill press. I put the spacer on there. I'm going to put this inside the blank. Okay, and I'm going to put a spacer pad down here so I have something to press it into. And we're just going to, I know I did it a little bit, but it wasn't true and squared. Now we're going to do it, but also what I'm also doing in here is, if you look at the, it's very hard to tell, but the brass, if you look on the edge, there's some wood. So the brass goes over and then steps up and over. We need to get that all flat. So I just got it close, but now that I have the right tool, I can get it perfect. And same thing on the other end. We got to get the wood and the brass perfectly level with each other. Right now the wood is slightly longer than the brass tubing. But now that I have the right tool, the spacer here, I can actually do the job properly. So that's what we're going to do right now. And you just go a little bit at a time, and you check your spacing. I blow off the wood, so I can see where my wood is and if it's level with the brass yet. Hold on. My chuck is loose. I don't know if you saw that, but that's coming out. I tightened it down. I don't know why I didn't tighten it. Oh, that's loose. I tightened that too a while ago. The chuck is tight. That needs to go here. Let me get that in there. Tighten that down. That's not supposed to move. It feels like it's stripped. This is the right tool for it. This little bitty Allen wrench. Bro, it's stripped. The set screw in here is stripped, and that's wobbling. That shouldn't be wobbling. Oh man, this might suck. It's stripped. Come on. Why is it doing this to me? It feels like it's tightening, but then it gets right there and slips. Alright, we'll be back. Okay, so not the set screw on the internal, but the threads that are on the outside of that set screw is stripping with the barrel trimmer's threads here. So I'm going to have to get a new one. But what I did is I just shoved it up to the very bottom of the reamer, so it bottoms out into the chuck up here and it doesn't move. So it should work. We're going to get this down the bottom here so it has nowhere to go. There we go. If you can, cameraman, zoom in all the way. Not all the way, but at least to where you can see the brass. Get a little bit of shavings. You check your distance, and I got a hair to go. And sometimes you'll hear it. You'll hear the barrel trimmer scraping the metal, and it's a different sound than just wood. There we go. Now you can see it though. You can see that shiny brass and how it's flat and flush with the wood that's next to it. And that's what we want. So now this one's good to go. This one is square and true, perpendicular at a perfect line there. And we'll flip it over and do this side. So we'll get this in there. I like to get it going in there. And we'll do the same thing. You don't want to go too far, because if you cut off too much, then your blank's going to be too short for your pin, and you'll have a gap between your tip and your blank, or your cap and your blank. So you want to barely just touch it, just barely get it trimmed, and then stop, so you have the perfect length. That's why I shave a sec, I back it out, and I blow the debris away, and then I check my lines. Almost there. There we are. There it is. I'm just barely touching it, just to clean all the debris off. And now there we go. So you can see this brass is flush with the wood that's right next to it. Now I can get this out. I'm just using the edge to press it down. There we go. This was a freaking 2-week wait. Slowed me down. But now we're flush on this end. And we're flush on this end. If you look, you can kind of see the step up inside of there. And on this side, you can see where the barrel trimmer was and over. That little bit will throw the entire pin off. So I had to wait for this to be a true square and not a guessed square. So that way, when the pin is put together, dropped a piece. Let's just say these are just parts of your pin and your blank. So that way, let's just say this is the alignment of your pin and this is the blank. Having this trimmer here will actually line it up perfectly. If I didn't do that and just eyeballed it and guessed it, this would be kicked off this way, ever so slightly. But you would probably notice it as you're writing. And so I had to wait for that tool to come in so I can go from this to perfectly in line to make sure that your pin's not cockeyed to the side. Anyway, that's it. Next step is putting it on the lathe. Alright, it's time to put it on the lathe. So, in order to do it properly, we need to follow the instructions because different pins call for different bearings and bushings and stuff. So, let me show you how I have this set up. I have my instructions here that come in the kit. I have all my pin pieces out. And I look at the diagram here. Actually, there's this stupid sleeve that took forever. The bushings are already out. I have one here and one's already on the lathe. But here's my headstock. Then it tells me I need 7mm spacer bushings. 1, 2, 3 of them. Then we have the step down bushing. That's one piece, which is this tip bushing. All right. Part A is this outside, the bigger piece. Part B is the inner one. And there's 2 of them. They look like this. All right, so one's already on the lathe, and I'll show you that in a minute because I already have these out there on the lathe. Then we got the blank that's here. That's this piece. And then we'll put the tail end on there, and then the knurled nut on the mandrel. So let's go over there. Here we go. I'm going to spread these out and just show you. Here's my headstock. We got 1 7mm, 2 7mm, 3 7mm bushing, and then we have the specific bushing for the Gatsby. All right, here's the blank. We're going to put the blank right on here. We're going to slide it in and make sure it sits into place. And then I'm going to grab the other bushing, put it on there, and make sure it actually gets inside of there. So when we turn it down, we're turning it to this outer, the bigger diameter of these. But look here, I can't put the knurled nut on because I don't have threads. But that's okay. I'll just use other bushings that I have to add space there. Alright, these are bushings from a Vertex pin. I'm just going to use these as spacer fillers. So, let's go throw these on. Put one on this end, Put one on this end. Now my threads are showing. Now I just grab my knurled nut, wherever I put it, if I can find it. And then we can continue. All right, here's my knurled nut. We're gonna just throw it on here. And I had a different tailstock on here, which I pressed too far into my mandrel and it mushroomed out the end. So now I have troubles always getting a nut onto here because it's too fat. And I'm trying to line it up just perfect so I don't strip it out. I just bought this guard and lines up with a vacuum in the back so it gets all the dust out of my way. But then also it has a light so I can not have a big lamp in my way that I've had on here. And it has this little face protector shield too, which is pretty cool. Alright, let me get this on there. Alright, we got the knurled nut on there. That was tough because it was mushroomed out. So what I had here was a live center, which I'm going to show you, is this piece. It was pointed. I just took a little grinder to it though and kind of shaved it down because it kind of melted inside there when I told you it mushroomed out. It was in here, and this was the piece that it was mounted onto. But I bought this new mandrel saver because you can see a hollow end and a pointed end. This just kind of just melts to it and it wobbles too much, so I'll put this on there to hold it more stable. But if you look at this, look at the size difference. This is too small. See, that's not going to work. That's a no-go. So what I did was I kind of used drill bits to shave this inside out some because this wouldn't fit in there. And it's not perfectly centered, just so I can hold it like this. I'm just going to rig it and try to do my best, but I'm going to put this in here and we're just going to try to make this work. I'm going to shove this in here. We're going to lock it down, and now we should be in business. There we go. It still wobbles a little bit over here. I'm going to push this out. Now I can see right here that this is stabilized. This isn't really going anywhere, but now this isn't wobbling either. Did you see a while ago how it was wobbling? Now this is not wobbling. I'm pretty much there. The tailstock's locked in. We're gonna have to lock this in. This thing did not come with a handle when I bought it, so I gotta rig it. And I just use these little pliers to lock it. It's hard. It's like really hard to lock this down without that handle on there. So I just use this to lock it into place. And that keeps this from backing out, which keeps this from wobbling. I need this stabilized, just like the headstock. The headstock and tailstock both got to be stable. So as I turn this pin blank, it stays straight and it doesn't wobble on me either. Anyway, let me get this tightened down. We're almost there. See the troubles I go through for pins? There we go. All right. We are ready to turn, but I gotta set up my vacuum. I haven't done that yet, so I'm gonna set the vacuum up. Once I get the vacuum set up, we can get the tools in here and we can start turning this blank down, and we'll be able to move on. All right, we'll catch you on the next video. All right, we got the vacuum hooked up. Got the safety glasses on, although there is a shield. You gotta be double protected. Got my roughing tool, and we're just gonna take this from a square blank to a round blank, and then we'll be done. So ignore the volume, the sound. The vacuum is about to turn on, and you're just watching. But it's gonna be loud. I'm not gonna talk during the vacuum. And this is how you take it from square to circular, cylindrical.
Where's my protection?
You're not the one on the machine. Alright, you can back up and zoom in. I always start in the middle and work it to the edges. So if you look at this right now, all I've done is hit the sharp edges, but we're still mainly square or octagonal, 8-sided. This is the long side, so it's actually kind of rounded right here. The back side though is not, because that's the short side. All right, so we're going to get that turned down to circular. It looks like we're there, but we're not. There's a flat spot here and a flat spot a little bit right there still left, and right here. So we're almost there. Well, not quite. I also can tell because it's kind of wobbly. That's because it's touching and then not touching, and touching and then not touching. Once I'm touching solid, I know it's round. I like this vacuum right there like that. And with that, we are round. I can feel it, and I can tell. I'm gonna hit one more pass on it. It's wobbly right there, so it makes me feel like it's not done. It's completely round, no more square. And that's how you take it from square to cylindrical, to round or circular, whatever you want to call it. Oh, that's what happened. So there's a little chip out right there. It's very tiny, very small. But that will be going away. That was the wobbling I was feeling on this end right there. But I'm going to take a break now, and I'll come back and we'll do final shaping on this. We're going to have to still turn this down a lot smaller because you see the bushing here and here on the ends. This is the cap side, this is the tip side. So I have to bring this blank down to here. If not, that's what it's going to look like on the pin. So if you can imagine that being your pin, and this is your cap. If I don't bring this down to here, then that's what it's going to look like, a hard 90 right there. Same thing over here. So I got to take these corners and bring them down to this bushing. And once I bring them down to this bushing here, they will fit the pin and look smooth. And I can leave it humpy if I want, or I can do straight, or any designs in between. But this inside corner of the wood needs to match up with this bushing on this edge here. So I got to get this one turned down there and this one here, and then we'll move on to after finalizing the shape, then we'll move on to sanding.